Johnny, are you at you said your, like, brother's house or something?
Yeah, I'm at my brother's apartment. My computer fucking exploded.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, it didn't, like, literally explode. I didn't have to, like, run into the foreground and then jump, as it was, like, or anything like that, but it
would have been cool if while it exploded, you just sort of walked away casually while not looking back at it. That's sort of the standard.
Yeah, that's something that could happen. I was thinking more a Die Hard thing, though, like jumping out several stories up or something like that, and then this giant, like, plume of explosion sort of, like, jetting out the window while I fall to presumably what people are like, oh my god, he gonna die, and then I say...
What was that voice?
I don't know.
I don't know why, but it seems vaguely racist. I don't even know why.
I was trying to go a little bit more hillbilly than anything specifically race related. Oh my god, he's gonna die.
I just assume any, like, really horrible accent that is not your own is vaguely ethnically insensitive. But okay,
I can see how you would have been led to believe that, considering some of the things that I have openly said, not only on this podcast but just in general during life. So.
Hey, Johnny's brother. I am his lover.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another lighthearted and wonderful episode of Johnny is an Incredibly Grumpy Bastard. Today, on this episode of Johnny's an Incredibly Grumpy Bastard, we're going to talk about things that make Johnny grumpy. Like not having a computer. That makes me grumpy. That makes me really, really grumpy.
You know what makes me grumpy?
What?
Apartheid. I just think it's really, really wrong. But yeah, go ahead and complain about your computer.
Yeah.
That's a really controversial statement. Really grumpy about not having a computer.
Okay.
For interested parties, which may be some of you, I'm not casting from my computer because my computer currently lies in shambles in my domicile, having been absolutely and utterly destroyed by the universe on Tuesday of this past week, where a power outage appears to have completely rendered either my motherboard or my power supply entirely ineffective. So, right now I'm casting from a mysterious, undisclosed location that is my brother's apartment. He was kind enough to loan me his computer for the day, well, at least for the next hour or so, and so that I could bring you guys this wonderful news that I'm incredibly grumpy. I'm not, it's not that I'm grumpy that I don't have a computer, that my computer broke. I got a lot of longevity out of it. It's like 7 years old,
Oh.
And the power source has always been a little squirrely. Like, my monitor would kind of, like, blink out every now and again. And I went through, like, 3 batches of RAM when I first got it. It was the weirdest thing. The guys at the local tech shop thought my computer was haunted because it was eating sticks of RAM over and over and over again. But it gave up the ghost on Tuesday. And I've already put together. I've ordered my replacement, but unfortunately, I'm on hiatus right now because the graphics card that I decided to put into it was only released on the 25th of February, and it's taking the manufacturers a little bit of time to get their cards north of the 49th parallel. So that's supposed to arrive at the tech shop on Wednesday, and then they need to do some testing on it. So hopefully, I will have it by next week. As a result, today's portion of the podcast where we talk about what we've been playing is gonna be a little different from my side. But I've been at a bit of a loss, guys. I honestly don't know what to do with myself. I come home and I want to be a better person, and it's really, really messing my day up. Instead of just like sitting down and going to the internet as my day would normally go.
So wait, I think you have to answer for all your PC elitism. Like, your computer just up and exploded. What would you have to say for the PC master race now?
Well, I think that has moving parts and electricity running through it is going to be susceptible to failure. You know, it lasted longer than pretty much, you know, a console generation has. You know, like I got it in like 2006, so it's, you know, it's lived quite a useful life. You know,
But I mean, Johnny, in that amount of time, I've only had 3 red rings of death.
Red Ring of Death.
Some consoles are actually made pretty sturdy. I mean, I was playing NES games on an NES, and not like a new kind of newfangled NES, like an actual one, as recently as just a few years ago.
My Sega Genesis still works. I was playing it this week, and it's like a first gen Sega Genesis with like the red trim and everything like that. Not the second gen, the smaller like black sleek one. No, it still works. I mean, but the thing is that there aren't very many moving parts in these systems. You know, like you plug a piece of hardware into another piece of hardware. You know, but when you start dealing with like optical drives and spin-up times and hard drives and things like that, you know, it like as the system gets more and more complex, the possibility of failure increases. So, you know, the more sophisticated your Xboxes are, or your Wiis, or your Kinects, or things like that, you know, there are more points along the lifespan, the usage, where something could go horribly wrong. And so something did go wrong at last, finally, 7 years after the fact, last Tuesday for me. I don't even know if my hard drives are intact. I don't know if my data's okay or anything like that. I haven't had a chance to plug them into anything and check and see if all my important documents and plans and my resume are okay.
Are all of those things what you call your porn?
No, that's my porn.
Okay, I wasn't sure if we were speaking in code here.
Oh, no. So, no. And I don't know if my porn is all right, for that matter. It wasn't high on the list of priority because we are talking about the internet. It's kind of everywhere, you know?
That's true.
If you're looking for it, you can find it. Which is why...
You really can't go on the internet without just stumbling over Asian teens.
It's
You just can't.
It's like, you know, like GoDaddy is particularly guilty for it, right? Where they have these like risque television commercials, and they're like, "Oh, to see the whole commercial, go to GoDaddy.com," and I'm like, "Yeah," or porn. I mean, if you really want to see naked ladies, are you really going to be like, you know what? I want to see naked ladies and be advertised to? It's never made much sense to me, but a lot of things don't. Whist doesn't really make much sense to me. We talked about cricket a couple of weeks ago. I know there are rules, but I've never seen them. And until recently, football.
Wait,
Yeah.
which one?
No, I mean, like, I want to thank some of our listeners for actually, you know, getting me interested in the etymological reasons of why football is called football, both, like, international football and American football, in that, you know, like, I erroneously assumed that, you know, football was football because you kicked a ball with a foot. You know, I was like, that makes sense. But it's apparently... higher class individuals believed that sports were only to be played on horseback, and that any sport that you played that required you to run around was a lower form of game, and all games that required you to run around, sports-wise, were called football. So rugby was actually a form of football. So that was an interesting lesson. Thank you for that. However, I still do maintain that soccer really should be called football, as it is like the world around, except for this little pocket in North America referred to as football.
You're a little pocket.
I'm the littlest pocket.
I have no idea what we're talking about, honestly.
I was just saying thank you to our listeners for educating me on the origins of the word football and soccer.
I think from now on we all need to play video games whilst on horseback, so we sound really fancy.
Absolutely. Although I am really, really interested to see what it would be like to play the Wii or the Kinect on horseback.
I don't think they would appreciate the Kinect very much. Well, no one appreciates the Kinect very much, but specifically, I don't think horses would.
Well, I mean, you'd have to keep a certain distance away from the television, of course, you know. So either you'd have to like rig the Kinect and a television up on another horse and then chase that, or it would be a really, really, really weird form of dressage.
Or you could just get a really tiny horse.
So hopefully, the moral of the story is, and next week I'll be like rocking the billion frames per second. I'm gonna have so many frames per second. I'm gonna have all frames per second. I'm not even gonna.
That sounds unplayable. Wouldn't that actually be terrible?
All of the frames are gonna happen at once, and I'll be like, that's how fast I'm gonna render shit. Because I bought a GTX GeForce Titan, which is insane. I still can't even believe I did it, but I did.
That sounds like a pickup truck.
I don't know what any of that meant.
It's fancy. It's a fancy card. NVIDIA just announced it like back in February. It literally just came out on the 25th of February. It's like the single most powerful GPU on the planet right now. It's based around architecture for a bunch of graphics cards that they designed for a supercomputer. And they've out and out confessed that the specs in this GTX Titan are faster. It's a faster card than they're planning their next 700 series to be. So, yeah, I'm gonna render all at once. It
sounds expensive.
It was expensive. It was really expensive.
You are the 1%, Johnny.
It's prohibitively expensive. I think I'm not even like that. Because you guys can just like Google that shit right now. I'm not gonna. But you can just be like, gee, I wonder how much a GTX Titan is. Yeah. So, that. I'm not gonna talk about it because I feel like that's not right. So, video games, huh? You guys?
I don't know. I'm not feeling it this week. Are we talking about something else?
Yeah, you bet. I want to talk about swords.
All right.
Just like
I used to own one, but I recently gave it away.
What variety of sword did you own?
It was a very small, medieval-ish looking fantasy sword that I owned since I was very young. But I gave it to my wife's sister, my sister-in-law, I guess, because she's really into LARPing, and I just thought she could get much more use out of it than myself. So I just said, here, it's yours. And she displays it prominently by her fish tank now.
Oh, quick question.
So,
yes. Your phraseology there. You said that she's really into LARPing. Can
yes.
you only sort of like partly into LARPing? Because that occurs to me that's probably not a thing.
I imagine some people just do it like who play role-playing games, mostly play tabletop games, but will occasionally be drawn into some sort of LARPing adventure, but not really into it. She's genuinely into it, like, a lot. I imagine for example, I'm not really into tabletop role-playing games in general, but I have played them from time to time, and if pressured, I will occasionally try, for example. So
I think it's funny that there's like a hierarchy where like certain people make fun of video game fans make fun of LARPers make fun of furries, furries make fun of
bronies.
What do bronies make fun of?
I don't.
Sean.
All bronies make fun of Sean.
Well, someone has to be at the bottom of this pyramid.
It's true. I think it goes. Video gamers make fun of board gamers make fun of miniature gamers make fun of role players make fun of LARPers make fun of furries make fun of bronies make fun of Sean.
Wow.
Okay,
Sean has a lot to contend with. It's like in my head it's this reverse pyramid where like the first thing you said was at the top and then Sean is at like the very bottom, but it's like inverted. So it's like
Yeah.
pointing it in him in the head.
I think it largely is a question of majority. You know, there are more video gamers than there are like board gamers. There are more board gamers than there are miniature gamers, and more miniature gamers than there are, you know, like, or maybe role playing games and miniature gamers are changed. Maybe they're exchanged.
Well, there's probably a lot of crossover there. I mean, I would think.
It's true. I confess, I LARPed.
You guys are nerds. No, I think it's.
I did. I LARPed once. I Vampire the Masqueraded it.
Did you bite anyone?
I need to know so much more about this right now. I'm not even making fun. I just insist on knowing more.
No, it was you know, like I had a buddy who ran a Vampire the Masquerade LARP, you know, like once every month or something like that, and I had this friend who was like, yeah, you should come. It's pretty cool. This is when I was like in high school and I was all brooding, dark and gothy. So I made a Bruja character and I went and LARPed for an evening. It was kind of a social shock because there were all these like hand signals that people have to be like, you know, this guy is invisible, or this guy is like this, or this guy is that. Like, I started talking to some dude, and he's like, you can't see me. I'm like, what? Because he had his hands in this, like, you know, symbol, this, like, you know, arrangement of fingers and joints and things like that was supposed to signify that he was, in fact, invisible. And I'm like, oh, sorry. I didn't know. But
did you win?
I'm not sure anybody wins at LARPing.
I mean, I assume that it's not like a normal game where you just get all of the points and then you get the highest score, but there has to be a goal. Did you accomplish it?
Well, no, you could say that it kind of ended disastrously for me because my sire was murdered at the end of the night, and I was like, oh, well, whoops.
You know, I was just thinking the other day, because I have this kind of time, role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons and things of their ilk, as games go, I think tabletop role-playing games are the least competitive games that there are. They're mostly cooperative. I mean, you're not even playing against the dungeon master or game master, because most of the times the DM or the GM or whatever actually wants you to succeed, just like throwing little things in your way and playing the game.
Obviously never played a campaign made exclusively up of thieves.
Well, that's fair, but I just mean in more of a general sense. It's role-playing games are sort of a non-competitive, cooperative, goal-less game where the goal is really just to have a bit of fun. I mean, there's a goal like, we must stop the wizard, you know, because the wizard's a jerk. But I know. I was just thinking about it the other day. It's like, you know, this is like the least competitive game that there is, unless I'm missing something.
No, you are right in that
I mean that in a good way, by the way. I don't mean it in a bad way.
They are incredibly collaborative. If there's anything that they have going for them, it is that they are collaborative. You know, creatively in terms of what solutions players try to come up with to deal with situations. You know, like problem solving wise, you're absolutely right about that. They are probably the least competitive games around. I mean, excluding single player games, of course.
Well, yeah, I mean, games in which there are multiple players.
Yes. Agreed. The motion is passed. Carried. Next on the docket.
I think it's funny that we kind of like jokingly switched topics to swords and then still somehow ended up back at games.
Well, not video games, but yes, games in general, sure.
I'm not sure if that speaks to like us being drawn to the subject, or we just have terribly bad luck.
It's bad luck that on a gaming podcast we talk about games.
When we try to get away from them on purpose?
Yeah.
So I think the only reason I want to be here right now is to hear what Johnny did with his time without his PC, because I saw some things on Twitter that made me super anxious about you and your life and the direction it's heading.
There was a little bit of retching there. A couple of you who follow my Twitter feed may have seen one or two photos of some very, very dusty consoles. A couple of severely neglected video game titles. It was akin to almost an archaeological expedition. It was discovering what sort of jewels I could find in the depths of my stereo cabinet. being like, there's got to be some Xbox in here somewhere. Or indeed my Sega Genesis, too, as the case may be. Yes. Like I said before, I'm at a bit of a loss of what to do with myself. It took me a few days to get over the fact that the only computer I had now was my cell phone. I was just kind of like, what do real people do with their time? So I did play some games. Are we gonna go to that? Shall we go to that? Are we gonna start with what I played?
I guess.
Unless you have another topic, Johnny.
Well,
I could talk about something. Ooh, let me stall. I have begun unsuccessfully to try to duplicate the success of my Toy Story episode of Renegade Cut. Part of the success was that people liked it, or at least had a lot to say about it, even those who did not like it. But a large part of its success was the fact that the director of Toy Story 3 commented on it on his Twitter, and it blew up. Now, I'm trying to do that again. So I've been but instead of just kind of letting it happen naturally, like it did with the Toy Story 3 director, like sort of out of my hands, he just sort of found it. I've begun like tweeting David Lynch and Darren Aronofsky, insisting that they look at my work, just being a completely pushy douche about it. So far, nothing. Understandably so. They probably get tons of tweets from dorks like myself. But I'm going to keep at it because, well, I don't even know why. Because hits? Yeah.
I think more importantly, Leon, did you see on your latest video one of the comments was talking about the full Leon?
That's happened twice now, I think.
How about a big hand to Solidus Snake for that job?
That was great.
Mad props, sir. That made my week.
Yeah.
See, I haven't been able to watch the latest Renegade Cut because I don't have a computer.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it makes me sad.
Well,
makes me sad.
It's the internet, so it'll be there when you get back. By the time you get back, there'll be another one ready because I'm actually trying to up my output a little.
Well, time will tell. Time will tell. In the meantime, sorry.
So you want to talk about? We can talk about games now, I guess. I have nothing left.
Before you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. Can we please put a lid on things leaking? I'm kind of done with this. Things leaking. I'm speaking specifically to, big news this week. Oh, Assassin's Creed 4. Nobody saw that one coming, right?
Oh. I didn't know what we were talking about for a second. I thought you just meant, drainage.
No. So last week, we had some details leak.
Oh.
About Assassin's Creed 4. And this leak, apparently, was so intense that a trailer leaked. Now, interesting, at least from my point of view, today, the day that we're recording this podcast, Monday, we had another trailer entirely released to the internet. So they had two trailers ready, presumably, and they just, leaked one so that they had, the second one ready to go. That seems a bit fishy.
So are you trying to say basically that publishers are manufacturing leaks to drive hype?
I believe so. I know this is a total revelation and nobody has posited this thought before ever in the history of games journalism, but, there is such a thing as being a little transparent.
I certainly think it does happen. I'm not sure if it happened this time or all times. I know some companies have been kind of upset about things leaking, while other ones haven't. So I think it's a case-by-case basis. With Assassin's Creed 4, what it seemed like was everyone in the press knew about it, but there was a couple people, for example, us, that they didn't get to sign NDAs, so we just posted it anyway. So a week before they were supposed to announce it, we were just like, guys, Assassin's Creed 4 is pirates. They told Taylor, but didn't make him sign anything. It was pretty funny.
I also think it's very amusing. One more thought on Assassin's Creed 4 here. I think it's really amusing that when Assassin's Creed 3 came out, everybody was like, "But the ship sections are amazing. Why can't we have a game about that?" And then they announced that they're making a game about that, and everybody's like, "Oh, Assassin's Creed 4."
I mean, nobody's happy every time, so you're always going to get some of that. But I think the bigger thing is people just don't feel excited about pirates anymore. It was a thing when Pirates of the Caribbean came out. We all kind of got burned out on it. So I think with the Assassin's Creed specifically, everyone has kind of their idea of where they want it to go. You know what I'm saying? They all have like their ideal time period. So
I think I would just like it to go somewhere.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you've been reading what's been coming out, but it's taking place, the Animus part's taking place before Assassin's Creed 3, so it's kind of a prequel, and it has a new main protagonist who Ubisoft says is you, like the player, which of course makes everyone who plays the game related somehow.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
So I think they may have written themselves into a corner with the Animus bit.
Do you think?
I mean, maybe they have a plan. Maybe there's something they have up their sleeve, but at this point, it seems like they may start regretting that whole thing.
Yeah, that may be the case. I'm not holding out hope that it's going to be a revelatory moment when they reveal their new plot. I mean, how good can it be when the player is actually the main character? That's not right. That doesn't sound right.
Players suck. You know a game where the player was the main character?
What?
Double Switch. It was. You started the game, and Eddie, played by Corey Haim, looks at you and says, "Hey, I'm glad you could make it." And he's talking to you, and he starts talking about all kinds of crazy stuff, and you, holding a controller, are the player. There's no character, and there were a lot of FMV games that were like that. In fact.
Yeah, Night Trap.
Yeah, that as well.
I've seen it in a couple RPGs, like the Earthbound series or the Mother series in Japan, where the characters will address the player as if you are like a deity. And there's also I can't pronounce it, the Monolith Soft GameCube game where you play like some kind of like a guardian angel of the main character, and they'll talk to you as if you are a separate entity.
ActRaiser did that too. Actually, now that I think about it.
I'm trying to remember if I ever played that. I know that's the game where like you kind of go like 2D hack and slash, and then it switches to like SimCity.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's not. It's pretty limited in terms of its simulation capabilities, but yeah, it'll be like, oh, we need to get across the river, and you're like, we'll build a bridge, and then they're like, that's a great idea, God, and I'm like, yeah. And they're like, no, I'm sorry, I was using your name as a form of expression rather than actually addressing you. And then I'm like, well, you should sort that shit out. And they're like, yeah, jeez, God. And I'm like, yeah. And then they're like, no, sorry, we did it again. And I'm like, lightning.
What, are they like the hive mind?
Maybe. I don't know.
You said, they said, just like all simultaneously.
Yeah, all of them. They all get together and say it. That's how it goes. Hey, you haven't played the game. How do you know?
I just said I played a little bit of it.
Well, now the story changes. Is that right?
Johnny?
Yeah.
Johnny, you try. I just want to hear about how you played some console games. Is that so wrong?
I did play some console games. How far back would you like to go, or do you just want to start with like the big meatball, the curly hair on top of the pile of spaghetti, the one that elephant in the room that sticks out like a sore thumb?
I have no idea what you're talking about, but you should probably start there.
I'm talking about Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty.
Oh, jeez.
Now, when Metal Gear Solid 2 first came out, I did play it because, I mean, who didn't play Metal Gear Solid? It was like one of these games that everybody was like, have you played Metal Gear Solid? And people are like, no. And then they're like, cut his hands off. So when Metal Gear Solid 2 came out, it was all like, bruh, everybody has to play it. And I played it through when it was first released. And then I forgot it. Like, something really bad must have happened to me playing Metal Gear Solid 2, because I blocked that out. Like, there are little flashes of it, of the experience, that I'm like, God, I remember that, like a fat dude on roller skates who throws explosives everywhere. You know, a really whiny analyst operations girl who wants to know what day tomorrow is. You know, the main character, Raiden, who on my Twitter feed last night I described as being not a bad enough dude to rescue the president yet. You know, so I'm taking this opportunity of not having access to my computer and a slew of amazing, wonderful games that I should be playing on it. I decided that I was going to look back at some console classics, and while investigating, I found Metal Gear Solid 2, so I started playing that this week. Oh my god.
Is that a good oh my god?
What? No.
I remember very, very specifically when I got Metal Gear Solid 2, and all I did, and this is I was much younger, all I did was play the boat section with Snake over and over, as if that was its own game. I didn't even mess with the Raiden part until like years later, because fuck that guy.
The writing is awful.
Is it awful, or is it Kojima awful, which is kind of awesome?
No, it's pretty awful. Like, even the lines of dialogue is like, nobody speaks like this. Nobody. You know, like, I mean, it's so full. The script is so full of these moments where you have characters saying things like, as you know, and then launching into this, long tirade of, it's some of the worst exposition in the world.
If you hate exposition, you should probably stay away from Metal Gear in general.
I mean, I recognize that. I don't hate exposition. It's just that, there's bad exposition and there's good exposition, and this exposition is terrible. And then when they try and characterize people, like, nobody has any character. Nobody. Like, all of the conversations that you have with Rose are so horrendously hackneyed. Like they go through this whole process of describing the first day that they met on, like, the steps of this skyscraper, and how they had a fight about what the building in Hong Kong was, and
Hong Kong, you mean King Kong?
Excuse me, Hong Kong, yeah. Hey.
I'm just picturing the entire city of Hong Kong climbing the Empire State Building.
Yeah. So, and the way that they conduct this conversation, where they're, like, finishing each other's sentences, and, it's so horribly, horribly manufactured. And, like, there'll be other ones where they're talking about, tomorrow's a special day, and she's like, oh, yes, I'll cook dinner. And he's like, oh, wouldn't you rather go to that one restaurant that we really, really like? The place that had the really great lobster? That restaurant. That's our favorite restaurant. And I'm like, people don't fucking talk like that. People are like, oh, wouldn't you rather go to Anderson's? Yeah.
I mean, yes, Metal Gear's writing is really clunky. There's always the thing where Snake says the same thing back in the form of a question to every sentence.
Yeah.
But it's kind of its charm, I think. I think the storytelling in Metal Gear is, like, delightfully camp. It's like B grade in a good way.
I'm having trouble with it, man.
It's Metal Gear 2, or Metal Gear Solid 2, because there is a game called Metal Gear 2 that is not Metal Gear Solid 2. I think the Raiden part of that game is probably the lowest point of the series. But is it bad, or is it just kind of hard to sit through because of how awkward it is?
I think it's bad.
Huh. I may have to go replay it, but
like, the game is still there. The game is still solid, and it like the gameplay and the level design, and I'm not so fond of some of the, like, running around, go to strut B to get this thing, okay, you've got this thing, now go back to strut F, okay, now that you're at strut F, you can move 2 rooms ahead, oh, you need this thing, it's in strut D, go to strut D, talk to this guy, get the, mango, and then take the mango to a guy in strut Q, and then he gives you a receipt, and then you look at the back of the receipt, and it's got, like, a code on it, and then you write the code on a painting, and then the painting turns into a unicorn, and you ride it off into the sunset. Like, that's a little clunky. The backtracking is still a little weird, but, like, the gameplay itself, and the level design is pretty solid, but the writing, not enjoying the writing. I'm remembering pretty quickly why, after having finished the game for the first time, I put it down, never to be taken up again. but I guess I kind of wanted to prove to myself that my vague impressions of the game were or are correct. It's pretty difficult. It's pretty difficult to get through. I mean, both in the story itself and the way it tells the story, and the characters. Yeah. The villains.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing though. But when you get to the end and you realize the whole thing was kind of a deconstruction of the medium, I don't know if that maybe justifies some of it, but
I imagine it does. I'm gonna have to play through again and make sure that I'm paying particular attention, because I do detect that they're certainly hinting to some nuances that, having played the game before, I'm picking up on a little bit better. But I don't know, man. I'm not. It's not blowing me away. It's not. It's no Metal Gear Solid 4. It's not even Metal Gear Solid. And I wish I could speak to the qualities of Snake Eater, but I haven't played Snake Eater. That's one of the reasons why I'm playing through 2 again, actually, is that I never played Snake Eater, and I know that it's a prequel, but I kind of want to prime myself for it.
Snake Eater is easily the best in the series, and it has no connection to 2. I don't think they even reference it once. So.
Well, but it's still I do want to prime myself for it. So I played that. And then I also played, unequivocally, I think one of the greatest games come out that whole console generation, Shadow of the Colossus. Another game that I've never finished, but I've I don't know, I can't remember how many Colossi that I've managed to trample in the past, but a good half dozen or so, probably a little more. And I was like, I should finish Shadow of the Colossus. So I played a little bit of that. There's really not much to say about that game. It's an abject masterpiece. It's fantastic on pretty much all levels. Looks great, plays great. I had forgotten how awkwardly weird the controls are.
There's one fight where the controls gave me a little bit of trouble, but I mean, you get used to them, I guess.
It's true, but jumping back in again when games of its ilk, I think, have become kind of slightly more widespread. The third person action adventure game. I'm getting a little bit like, what, that button does, but that doesn't feel right. Okay, It's taken some adjusting, but I had completely forgotten. But it's hardly a detractor to the game because it's brilliant. It's so brilliant. I've also, of course, I played a couple of Sega Genesis games as well. Some Game Ground, some Toe Jam and Earl, a little bit of Sonic, Yay. Stone Heist, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Do you think Sonic holds up as well as you remember? I played some Sonic 2 a little bit ago, and I was like, it's fun, but I mean, I don't know.
I don't think the first one does, I think the first one definitely shows its age. Second one, not as much as the third one, or even Sonic and Knuckles. I think Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles were probably the best of their of the set. I felt like they had the richest level selections, the best color palette, the most drama, the best bosses. So it's they're good platformers still, I think, but so much has happened in the platforming genre, even just in the past 2 years, 2 or 3 years or something like that, with the advent of games like Super Meat Boy or, Mark of the Ninja or, oh man, I'm drawing a blank, Braid, the platformer has evolved to a level that I think nobody back in the 1990s thought that it possibly could have, and it's difficult to go back and, even like the Mario games, even Mario 64 or Mario Galaxy or things like that, stuff that you wouldn't necessarily recognize as being a platformer at the outset has done so much to change the genre that it's a little difficult to go back and objectively enjoy these games, there's the nostalgia is still there, and but Yeah, they don't hold up maybe as strongly as they could have, but I think that's, as I said, more less a factor of their actual design quality and more a factor of what's happened to video games since then.
And now for an opposing viewpoint. I actually recently replayed some Mario games, some older Mario games and some older Sonic games, and I had a fucking blast. Not just for nostalgic levels, but because there's something really enjoyable about jumping and smashing things. I don't know what it is. I enjoy jumping and smashing things. And honestly, I think, especially Super Mario World, I'm gonna talk about the best Mario and Sonic games here real quick. Especially Super Mario World, where it's just packed with so many weird secrets and different ways to do things that you could actually sort of do a lot of replay value on it. And to a lesser extent, Sonic and Knuckles. I don't know. I go back and play those games, and I'm like, this is actually really fun. I really like picking up and playing this game and having there be 3 buttons. And it's not just like I said, it's not just the simplicity. There was depth in those games in the sense that Sonic and Knuckles, you could sort of play it a bunch of different ways because of the lock-on technology, which was awesome. And Super Mario World, and to a lesser extent, Super Mario Brothers 3, just the different paths you can take because warp whistles and whatnot. So I completely understand what you're saying. Video games, even platformers, have gotten, I'm finger quoting here, better. But I feel like some of those old platformers are like pretty perfect, in terms of platforming. I'm not sure what. Super Meat Boy, it doesn't feel like, it just feels like a different platformer. I don't think Super Meat Boy is better than some of the old Mario games. I just think it's different because it's harder and weirder, I guess. Braid is I don't know if this counts because Braid, as good as it is, it's a puzzle game where you kind of platform. It's not a platformer with puzzles. So
no, in the first place, I don't want to suggest that I'm saying like, Sonic, even the original Sonic is a bad game or anything like that. I just feel that going back to it now because the genre has expanded so much, and I understand what you're saying about Braid, where its focus is less on, like jump on this, run up that, find this glove, give the glove to Jesus.
I love Give the Glove to Jesus. That was a great platformer.
Fantastic platformer, especially the water level.
That was funny for 2 reasons. That was great.
Thank you. But I do feel that it at least it contributed a depth to the genre that did not exist before. And I agree with you in the sense that Super Meat Boy or whatever is not necessarily better just because it's different. Mm-hmm. I just feel that the reactions I get from going back and playing these classic platformers is distinctly different because my experience with the genre is so much broader. I feel the same way too going back and playing like real-time strategy games like the old school Blizzard or Westwood real-time strategy games like your Command & Conquers, your Dune 2s, Warcraft 2, even StarCraft and I guess even to a certain extent StarCraft 2. I feel that so many companies have expanded the genre so much, Creative Assembly and their Total War games, Relic and Homeworld or, the Dawn of War, Company of Heroes or something like that to go back and play these games doesn't necessarily make them bad. They're still good games, but I don't know. I feel like I'm expecting more of the genre now, and it kind of, I don't know. It's not even that it lessens the enjoyment, because I still have fun playing them. I think it's just that I see them differently now.
I would love to, and my perspective may be a little different just because I love that. I love going back and playing those older games. I think I get a little bit more out of it, and I just want to say I hate what strategy games have become. Personally, I keep trying these new strategy games, and I'm like, these. I don't know. They're very complex and I can grasp them and do well at them. I played out some Total War games. I just don't get that sense of I hate to throw this word around because it's kind of silly and it means so much, but I just don't get that kind of sense of fun playing Total War that I got with playing Command and Conquer. There was just and not just for simplicity reasons, but because there was a certain amount of don't take this too seriously, just make a big obelisk that's a laser beam. I want to make an obelisk that's a laser beam. I don't know about you. I enjoy it. I like seeing that guy get shot in the head. Seth, I think his name was. I don't know.
I get what you're saying. I
don't know. I'm not someone who thinks video games were all better back then because there really weren't. Oh God, there was so much shit. But it's largely gotten a lot better with technology. But I feel like there's more to the certain resurgence in throwbacks than just nostalgia. There's also a certain pick up and play and sort of pure fun thing that I don't want to say we've lost, but we've sort of pushed aside just a little in some games. I want to say. I don't know.
Duly noted.
Okay.
Duly noted. So that was what I was playing. You know.
Okay.
We'll see if that list changes to be a little more classic Johnny by next week. But in the meantime, Leon, seeing as how this is like a natural segue here, you talking about how much fun you're enjoying, or how much you enjoy having fun with old platformers, why don't you tell us what you've been playing?
News. Briefly, Final Fantasy VI, and that's it. But I'm introducing a new concept to this show called What's Leon's Wife Playing? And that's because she plays a lot more video games than I do, and I spend more time watching my wife play video games than I do playing video games. And my wife is playing Fallout New Vegas, and she is really, really evil in it. Just unashamedly so. She keeps murdering people for hats. It's like, I want that hat. And then oh, well, dear, you got to kill him then. And she's like, I know. So she does. And someone is walking around and is like, I like that guy's gun. I'm like, well, dear, if you want a better gun, you're going to have to kill that guy. He's like, I'm going to kill that guy. And then she kills him. Basically, my wife has left like a trail of corpses behind her, the likes of which you've never seen. It is really, really frightening. I mean, when I played Fallout 3, a game I only kind of liked, I played it the same way. I was just an evil bastard, but I am dwarfed in deviousness because I would really like set up these sort of elaborate evil schemes, like going into a town and just seeing how many people I could shoot, not collect any of their things, but just seeing how many people I could shoot before they got me, and then go back to a save point and just go through it. But no, it's pretty much a game of consequences with my wife. If she murders a bunch of people, she wants that on her record. She really does. And so basically the hats keep flowing with the blood, and that's what's going on. And update on what, or preview, if you will, on next week's What's Leon's Wife Playing. What is Leon's wife playing? Yes, okay, I'm trying to say that grammatically. Gamefly just shipped Tomb Raider, the new one, the Tomb Raider Now game. And so that will be talked about because it is apparently her favorite series.
Spoiler, a tomb may or may not be rated. I'm thinking it will.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
all I know about Tomb Raider, the new one, is that people were up in arms about it, and then they were like, and now it's getting like good reviews.
But Leon, I think you beg the question: why are you on this podcast and not your wife?
That is a good. That's actually a really good question. I don't know because technically I'm part of Channel Awesome and my wife runs another thing. I guess I don't know.
Well, I'm happy to hear that your wife is taking full advantage of the freeform hat-based economy in Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those investments pay off.
Yeah. I'm not saying that you should not show up next week and she should, but if it were to happen, we roll with it, is what I'm saying.
No, I know. Yeah. Maybe I'll sneak in a little time playing Tomb Raider as well. It seems unlikely because every time I touch it, she'll probably say no and then play it herself. because she really, really wants to play this game like nobody's business.
You know who's not going to get to play Tomb Raider?
Who?
Me.
Oh,
because your computer exploded.
Oh, right. Well, you could get a console version. Oh, wait, you don't have any modern consoles, do you?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
And I already bought it on Steam anyways. I pre-ordered it, but it, know.
Right.
Can we all just say for the record that the old Tomb Raider games suck?
A lot of them did. I felt like the reboots were okay, like Anniversary, Legend, but
yeah.
When we're talking about like the original Tomb Raider and like Tomb Raider 2 and the Lost Chronicles and things like that, they were pretty balls.
They're super important and influential. If there were no Tomb Raider, there would be no Uncharted, and that is a sad thing, I guess.
That would be a great tragedy perpetrated on gaming.
Yes, but I don't want to play them ever.
I played the first one. I rented it. I think the Saturn version. I may be wrong about that. I wasn't into it. I'm not sure why, but it didn't appeal to me at the time. Had I given it more time, who knows? But I know almost nothing about the series except that Angelina Jolie played her and then punched a shark.
Let's not even talk about the movies. I don't want to breach that subject. That's a Pandora's box right there that just should stay closed.
Okay.
I think I've seen them. I don't remember them at all.
God,
I haven't seen either of them. I just know about them because my wife told me about them the other night.
I don't even want to talk about it. I'm leaving this one buried in the backyard. They're awful. Oh my God, they're awful. That's all I'm gonna say about it. They were awful.
You have to admit that the casting was spot on, though.
Yeah.
She does look like her, I guess.
But still.
But, yeah. I don't know. Is it worse than the Hitman movie?
I never saw the Hitman movie.
Oh.
Besides the older video game movies like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, and the Super Mario Brothers movie, I don't watch video game movies at all. I mean, I obviously watch a lot of movies, and I kind of play video games lately. I'm trying to get back. I am. I've seen so few video game movies.
I mean, I think Silent Hill is okay.
Oh, you know what? I did. Yeah, because of my wife, oddly enough, who is a big Silent Hill fan, I have seen both Silent Hill movies. So yeah, I guess I have seen a few.
I still feel bad that you stopped shy of finishing or like getting into Silent Hill 2, Leon. That makes me feel bad.
I got like a quarter of the way through Silent Hill 1, and I think I got distracted by a shiny object or something, and I just never started it again. I think it's still on my PS3. And I do own, we own copies of Silent Hill 2 and 3, but I barely have enough time in my week to do this podcast, so I can't even think to no.
I understand. I was just voicing my displeasure.
One day I will play all the games that everyone wants me to play. That is my vow.
Very well. Austin?
Oh, do I have to talk about what I've been playing?
Well, I mean, you don't have to, but I mean, it is customary.
It's kind of embarrassing. I had a lot of things I should have been doing this week. I should have been playing Far Cry 3. I should have been reviewing the Ninja Gaiden for the PS Vita.
You should have been doing up NCIX and being like, hey, put Johnny's computer together faster.
I should have been your tech support, yes. I probably should have done common household chores or school assignments, like literally anything. All I've been doing is playing Fire Emblem. I need help, like really badly. Like, I was 2 seconds away from starting, like, spreadsheets and flowcharts and, like, to maximize the inheritance statistics for the second generation of my army. It's a real problem. This game should take about 15 hours to beat. I'm 40 hours in. I cannot stop. Somebody help me.
I'm afraid I can't do that, Austin.
Oh, God, it's so good. I'm getting so excited thinking about it. I expressed last week how much effort went into all the different things. Like, I think you'd have to play the game 47 times to see all of the dialogue. That's just because that's how many different romantic options the main character has, and you can only complete one S rank per playthrough. That seems like a lot, but it's actually way more, because everything has, like, incidental dialogue. There's event tiles on the maps that you can step on, and, like, one of three things can happen. You can get, like, an item, your friendship level can go up, or your experience can go up. And there's different dialogue for every single character who are paired in that situation. There's, like, the text for this game is like war and peace levels. There's so much of it, and that's not even the fact that most of the game is just a strategy game. It's ludicrous how much content there is in this game. Like I don't know if you guys know about the Spot Pass thing for the 3DS, but essentially you can just download like new characters and stuff offline. You can get all kinds of this DLC, and it's just holy crap, guys. There's so much Fire Emblem, and I can't stop. There needs to be an intervention. Help.
There isn't going to be one, Austin.
You guys are just going to let me die like this?
It's something that we've discussed at great length. It's time to let go.
See,
just let it happen, Austin. Just let it happen. Let the Fire Emblem take you over. Let it wash over your very soul. Feel it filling you.
I need to play through it again as a woman this time so I can see all that dialogue. Like, I don't know if I probably said this when we talk about Mass Effect, but like when I had to go through it like 6 times so I could go male and female shepherd, renegade, and paragon each time and see all the different like romance options. Like I have I have like some kind of sick compulsion to mine all of the dialogue. I think it will be the end of me here because it's impossible to see it all. It would take a lifetime.
Objectively speaking, that is pretty impressive. I mean, you know, like making a game with that much dedication to branching. I suspect, however, that like, you know, that the different options aren't necessarily as varied as they perhaps could be, but
well, no, I mean it's very much a breadth over depth thing. Like none of the characters are like super complex or multifaceted, you know. They're just, I mean, you have an army of like 50 people, so they don't have time. They can't. You could never budget the time to make each of one of those like a super well-rounded character, but it's still heartwarming and cute, and they're all likable. I don't know.
Is there one? I'm kind of curious. Is there one that's like that they push you towards? Is there one that's like, you know, kind of like, okay, yeah, this one's maybe kind of canon?
Not for your character, but the like you are not the protagonist. You are the protagonist's like advisor.
Right.
But for him, Crom, the main character, yes, there is a canon love interest that it basically shoehorns you into. You don't have to make him marry Sumia, the Pegasus Knight, but if you don't, the game kind of was like, really? Why? Why would you do that? Like, can't you tell that they're made for each other?
Interesting.
And in fact, if you don't marry anyone with him by a certain point, it actually automatically pairs them up.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know.
All right.
That's not really spoilers, but yeah, if you can choose different romance options for him, but at a certain point, it's like, hurry up. We kind of want to get to the point where they live happily ever after. It's unfortunate for Cordelia, who I think is a much better fit for Crom. And now I sound like a crazy person. Someone help.
No more than usual, if it makes you feel any better.
It sucks, though, because my favorite soldier was he's the Myrmidon Lon Q, and I married him with Cordelia, and she is totally still crushing on Crom while they're together, and that's not okay.
Nah.
He needs to straighten her ass out.
Next week, Leon, it's just going to devolve to Austin talking about these people as if they were his real friends.
That's basically the point it's gotten to. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's making the rounds, but I guess Nintendo or whoever they contracted to, they're making like miniatures or like little statues for some of the characters.
Uh-huh.
And one of them is Tharja, the Dark Mage, and she's like really scantily dressed. And my first thought was like, oh, because I married her with my character, and I was like, she might put some fucking clothes on.
My woman ain't going out in public dressed like that.
Offensive. I was like, she wouldn't dress like that. They did the Selvaria from Valkyria Chronicles. Like, she's like a like not an overly sexual character in the game, but all of like the stuff about the game makes her seem like that. So I was like, that doesn't make any sense, but whatever. I'm getting way too attached to this thing, but it needs to be taken away from me.
It seems like it, Austin. You may have a problem.
I did, like, I got to the final boss, right? And I spent like 12 hours just pairing my troops. Because like when I did go up and fight the final boss, I killed him in like 2 shots. It wasn't even a thing. But I spent like 12 hours just grinding so everyone in my game could be married, because they get an epilogue after the credits. It's like, you know, what's his face went back to his farm and was happily married and blah blah blah. Like there's a little thing for each character if they survive and depending on what you did. And I wanted to see all of it, so I had to.
Are you gonna be okay?
I hope so.
I'm a little frightened now what's gonna happen when you have to put it down and actually start playing another game.
See, that's the thing. Like, what am I going to do after this? Like, I'm going to go back to playing Madden and Call of Duty. Like, my life can never be the same. I'll be, like, super mad if I'm playing Madden. I'll be like, man, Michael Vick should totally end up with Ben Roethlisberger.
Somehow Austin manages to insert a marriage system into Madden NFL. I
would pay such good money for someone to mod Madden and to where they could get married and they get like stat boosts if they're on the field at the same time.
That would be fantastic.
Because that's the incentive. It's like Persona, like if in those games, if you have like friendship with the characters, they get stronger. Mm-hmm. So that's the incentive in Fire Emblem. I'm not just doing this because I'm a crazy person, but I am.
It helps that you are a crazy person.
It makes them like invincible if you pair them up with their wife or husband, because the S rank gives you like 15 plus to every stat. Like, my characters are immortal. So, I mean, it paid off, but it took a lot of work, and it took away from my life. Like, I'm wondering if listening to this are thinking, are they like, yeah, I know, I feel the same way, or this person needs to be... Do you guys know about the Baker Act? I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's a Florida thing.
You heard it here first, folks. Fire Emblem. It's for crazy people.
It kind of is. Do you guys know about the Baker Act?
What's the Baker Act?
What?
I think we have Florida where they can just put you in a mental institution for like no reason.
Yeah, that sounds like your thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've known people who've been Baker Acted. They just show up and they're just like, nope, you're going to the nut house.
Seriously?
It's a real thing. Like, Google that shit,
does
listener.
Somebody have to invoke the Baker Act, presumably? You have to be like, put this person in a mental institution.
I don't know the exact,
Or do they just, like, randomly, like, draw lottery names out of a hat and be like, whoop, it's your time to go into the rubber room?
It can be initiated by judges, law enforcement officials, physicians, mental health professionals. So yeah, if anyone in authority thinks that you should be put in an institution, they can just do it without any, like, legal process, basically.
Boy, it is a good thing that I do not live in Florida.
Here's the thing, though. It sounds like 1984, but we fucking need it here. It's an important part of our everyday life that we can just get the crazies off the street.
It's a rich part of Florida cultural heritage.
Don't tell anybody about this Fire Emblem thing, because I don't want to go back.
Who would I tell? I don't know any of your professors yet.
Jeez. See, the thing is, it's not actually that much different from the old Fire Emblem games. The other ones had this support conversation, they have the same combat. I don't know why this one has particularly hooked me. I mean, I love all the Fire Emblem games, but they have them for Wii and GameCube. Leon, have you ever wanted to look into Fire Emblem?
No.
Why not?
I'm sorry. That was kind of dicky. No, I you know how I know about Fire Emblem?
Super Smash?
No, you told me last week.
You ever played Super Smash Brothers?
I have, but I don't even know how it's related.
That's where most people know it from, is because Marth, Roy, Ike.
I don't know. I didn't know who they were.
Okay.
They were just guys I never played because I always wanted to be Pikachu.
Pikachu is pretty baller. But yeah, the whole reason Nintendo started localizing Fire Emblem is because people were like, who are Marth and Roy?
Oh.
And then they've never actually released the game with Roy in it, although they did release a remake of the game with Marth in it. So that's Shadow Dragon, which is pretty good. But yeah, the Fire Emblem games for Wii and GameCube are fucking expensive, like $150 on Amazon. I looked into it, so that boat has sailed. If you want to get in on Fire Emblem, you got to start with the 3DS one. But yeah, that's what I've been playing, guys. I've neglected everything else in my life. I've beaten it now, but now I'm starting over as a female character. I gave her pink hair, and she has an eye patch, because why the fuck not? I don't know what I'm going to do. I actually have a little chart here. I'm not even shitting around. I have a little chart here next to my computer, and I've written out like a bunch of different like planning webs. You guys know about, like, where you have like the different branches for how it could go down. I'm not... I can't even do this with a straight face. This is real. Like, I'm hitting it against my microphone right now.
All right.
That's my chart of different... I'm not sure how I'm going to go, but that's what I'm doing. I should be doing other things, but that's my life right now, so...
Are you going to be okay, Austin?
Probably not.
All right. We'll deal with that when we come to it.
This is your fault, Johnny.
Why? Why is this my fault?
If you were my friend, you were supposed to step in, and you were supposed to stop me from doing this to myself.
We'll see. We'll see how bad it gets next week.
Like, I'm like still frothing at the mouth.
We might have to do something next week if the situation escalates.
Seriously though, I did play some Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma Plus, which is a stupid name for a game. I should be finishing that tonight and getting a review up for it. It's the Vita port of the second Ninja Gaiden game. It's okay. It's whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys care and or know about the Ninja Gaiden games they make these days.
Well, I did like the Ninja Gaiden for the Xbox. Can't find it anywhere.
I did too. That was a really good game for its time.
It was a spectacular game for its time. Good and hard and, kick-ass.
Yeah, the second one's like that, but they tried it. It's a little try-hard. It's like it wants...
I seem to recall playing the second one for a little bit, and yeah, that sounds about right from what I can recall. Third
one is just an abortion.
Never even touched it. Not even with a stick. Not even with a poking stick.
So that's what's going on. I have sitting in front of me here is the new Castlevania. So I'm supposed to be reviewing this. Konami sent it to me with all their trust, and
Which one is that Castlevania? Lords of what with who and how now?
It's called Castlevania Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate.
Oh, okay. All right.
Or as I have taken to calling it, Clausmoff, because that is the acronym. Yeah, it's basically Metroidvania meets God of War. So that review will be up as well.
Oh.
That's probably what's going to shake me out of this, because I'm not going to put off a review that a publisher sent to me for my own insanity. So hopefully I can take that out of my 3DS and it will lose its grip.
I would look forward to reading that if I had a reliable access to online data.
Yeah, you're just crying in an empty room.
I like when I say I'm at a loss for what to do with myself. I'm not even kidding. I come home from work and I'm like,
Why don't you read a book?
Because I already read books.
Read more books.
That's what's happening, actually. I'm reading books and taking baths and, writing in a journal and playing guitar and juggling and...
Buy a 3DS and Fire Emblem, and then we could talk about our relationships.
I would if I hadn't just spent an exorbitant amount of money on a video card.
Okay.
Exorbitant.
Also, I have to say, the voice acting in Fire Emblem is pretty silly. Everyone who's ever voice acted in a game is in this. All the people from Sonic the Hedgehog except for Sonic are in it. Tails is in it, Knuckles is in it, Rouge the Bat's in it, Amy's in it, Shadow's in it. Every voice actor in that series is in this game, and it's really distracting. I'm like, shut up, Shadow, no one asked you. Also, Teddy from Persona's in it. Fuck that guy.
Did you hear that, Taylor? You gonna stand for that?
Teddy's the worst. Who else? Kararo from Sergeant Frog, which is an anime I've seen. That guy's in it? Why? Why?
I don't know.
Oh, one of the guys from Full Metal Alchemist. I don't recognize that, too. So, why are you guys letting me talk about this? No one cares.
Because we're frightened, Austin. We are frightened.
Slowly backing away. Okay, so either you probably should kick me from this call, or you should wrap up before I get going again.
Well, unfortunately, it was a pretty slow news day, so that's really all we have, I guess.
Mutant Ninja Turtles game.
Yeah, but Activision, history of movie licensed games. Would it even be movie licensed? Because I suppose it's coming out before the Michael Bay movie is, but on the one hand, it's kind of it might be kind of difficult to screw up because it's really a story about 4 giant turtles beating the crap out of people. What more do you want? But still, licensed materials, not traditionally that good.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm trying to think what else. Anything else happened over the last couple of days? Nah.
Not really.
It's been a slow week.
The Planescape sequel Kickstarter goes live on Wednesday, apparently.
Yep.
That's the thing.
Apparently, that the Kickstarter bubble has kind of started to deflate. A lot of projects, that even relatively hyped ones, aren't making their goals anymore.
I am kind of surprised that Project Awakened is doing as poorly as it is. $500,000, of course, is not an amount of money to thumb your nose at, but they've got a little less than 2 days now as of this podcast, and $230,000 I think still to go on it. Having a look at it, I was absolutely certain that they were going to make it. Proof of concept, interesting footage. It But go figure, people are not jumping on board. We'll see. I mean, these things have a tendency to really shoot up near the end of the campaign, but it may or may not happen, so who knows?
Yep. Skullgirls beat that in 2 days.
You bet they did.
Oh, jeez, that game. Actually, I wouldn't mind if Skullgirls became like a full like retail competitor in like the 2D space. It's niche, but I think it's pretty cool, and I especially the music. The music's so good. It's the woman who did Symphony of the Night soundtrack for it. I think that's gonna be my next Music Mondays.
Oh, look at that! Inspiration strikes at any moment.
It's decided. Leon, do you want to go?
Yeah, usually.
This is usually the.
Do you want to go? Yeah, usually.
Sorry.
No, that's why I asked. Say something funny.
No, I don't tell jokes anymore.
Ever?
Well, I mean, if I think of something off the cuff, but I don't write jokes anymore.
See, that's
sorry.
If you made it through this podcast, listener, if you weren't turned off by the Fire Emblem insanity, let us know in the comments if you want to see Leon replaced by his wife.
All right, I'll let her know you're saying that.
Okay. Okay, now that he's gone, we can get back to Fire Emblem.
I should have called this podcast Johnny and Leon Are Grumpy Bastards.
It's a nice change of pace. I was a total dick last week.
And Austin's a madman.